You may find yourself living in a teardrop trailer. And you may find yourself in another part of the world. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
Okay, so when things fail, what the fuck? Episode 4, part 3. Sorry. We've talked about, we haven't gotten very far, right? So this is still 2018, the beginning of it, and we're gonna move on to about February, when I had my surgery. So, I had been having issues my whole life with my feminine uterus and ovaries and everything like that. And I've had multiple surgeries, and so this one was trying to avoid hysterectomy sort of surgery, and I was on my husband at the time's insurance, so I knew I had to try to work it out, and that's not the greatest reason, but I really needed this surgery. So basically it was I don't even remember what all they did. There was a bunch of surgeries at once, but the main one was a uterine ablation. So I would definitely never be able to have children after that. And although I never wanted any, I knew from very, very young that I never wanted to have children of my own, and I had been begging my doctors for 15 years to just take it out of me, like get rid of it, because it's causing me so much pain, and just so many doctor's appointments and medications I didn't want to be on, and I was on heavy painkillers because of it, and that wasn't how I wanted to live. I didn't want to live numbed or constantly in pain or whatever. So I was ready. I was really, really, really ready for this operation, and I was ready to not to hopefully feel better. Like I said, this was like the step that they took to avoid a full, a hysterectomy, so that I would keep my hormones and not go through an early menopause and have the bladder falling issues and things like that come along with that. Well, even though I knew that I never wanted children, and I really wanted everything out of me for years, having this operation done was still really emotional and kind of deep, because it was taking away my ability to have children, and even though I didn't want it, it's still a part of being a woman. And at that time there was a whole womb man movement. Women were starting to be empowered, and there was lots of pictures of yonis with the universe coming out and giving birth, and being this mother goddess figure. And every festival there was a red tent where the women could bleed together and do prayer and be all spiritual about it, and it was starting to be more mainstream to talk about all of that kind of stuff. And it was at that moment that all of that was getting taken away from me. And I felt alienated from my sex, from being a woman, not being able to be a part of those rituals or those conversations, and not feeling like I am this bearer of life, and that I have all that ability or capability inside me. And of course, the only person I had to talk to, or that was around to talk to, was my husband at the time, who I obviously didn't feel respected as a woman by. We lived in the middle of nowhere. I didn't I was very alone in this, and in the process, and in everything, in the decision. And we had to have someone come watch the house while I was in surgery, because it was an hour drive there. It was a 10-hour operation, and waking up and coming back and stuff, so it was a whole day thing, and we needed someone to be there with the dogs. And this was, of course, scheduled before the affair and everything happened. And my mom was going to come down and stay and help, and then she had somehow, instead of doing that for me, scheduled right before the surgery to go to Florida to be with her siblings instead. So that left my dad to come down about a two-hour drive. And I'm not close like that with my dad. We don't have conversations about anything ever, and we never have. And that'll be a whole other. We'll get there on our way back into my life, walking backwards. But anyway, so it wasn't ideal that it was my dad being there. Although I did want him there, to help and whatever. It just didn't feel like I had a support system. But I was really grateful. And so we go, surgery, everything, and I had expected my dad to stick around a little bit and maybe help with food and just helping me in general. The only bathroom and everything was upstairs, and I obviously couldn't do stairs. I was pretty bedridden for a couple weeks. I had rented or checked out all of the Mary Tyler Moore show seasons at the library, and that was my big plans. Was just sit in bed and watch the Mary Tyler Moore show. But yeah, I needed help. When my husband went to work, I couldn't go downstairs to the kitchen. I couldn't let the dogs out. I couldn't do anything. I was just stuck upstairs in bed by the bathroom. And when we got back to the house after the surgery, my dad's vehicle was already running, and I could barely walk. I was really dizzy, and for some reason after this anesthesia I was really nauseous, which I usually handle it pretty well, but this time I was really sick, really nauseous, really still disoriented, barely could stand up, walk. So my husband at the time is helping me into the house, and my dad is like, okay, well, glad you're here. I have to get back home to my cat. because at the time they had an old cat, and he had to get home to her. So I'm left after this really semi-major operation plus pretty major emotional sort of emotionally operation with just my husband at the time that just had an affair, and I couldn't bathe myself, I couldn't do anything, so he was the one that was taking care of me. And just to be naked in the bathtub and having to have him wash me and help me with the bathroom and everything like that was the most vulnerable I had ever felt in my entire life, because there was this person that wasn't the person that I thought that they were, and had hurt me and left me empty, and they were the only person I had around to help. And so that became confusing also after about a month, once I was able to do things on my own again. I had to kind of start from scratch and start rethinking everything again, rethinking if I could stay, if I could handle it mentally, if I could move forward, and if I couldn't, what were my options?
Let the days go by, let the water hold me down. Let the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground.